Moncion. Mr. Chair, thank you. My question has to do with planning that is happening around immigration. What type of planning do you do? It's all well and good to want to have Francophones, but if we have no housing, if there's no space for them, how do we welcome them? Where do they settle? And I would like to know what type of planning is happening. It's fine that the Minister of Immigration is saying we're going to attract 500,000 Francophones here in Canada, but are we doing planning to see if we need 25 in a city, 40 in another, 75 somewhere else? Is this type of planning undertaken, or do we set targets and send funding to communities without really knowing if the needs and the capacities match? I'd like to know if a study was conducted on needs and capacities of each of the communities so that not only are we targeting, but then we're targeting in a strategic way. So I'd like to know if any work was done in this regard in your different groups. Who would like to answer? I will attempt an answer and I'll ask Ferdinand. Is it Radio Canada who made this study? I know recently there was a study that was published, but I'm going to find it and I will send it to the clerk. I'm not exactly sure where it comes from, but this does exist. So it will depend how you're going to evaluate our ability to welcome people. If you're going to look at our we have no housing capacity, and that is frightening because we have needs. I'm telling you, I feel that I'm on an I don't know who I have to say it, but immigration has to be linked to housing. Otherwise, we won't succeed as a society. We will not meet our targets. When it will be time to settle people in communities, I work in rural settings, and our communities are extraordinary. They're innovative. You cannot even imagine the gymnastics that they do to trying to find a way to settle and house these new immigrants. It's outstanding. It's wonderful, but at the same time, it's not the responsibility of municipalities or individuals in the community. We've thought of all kinds of solutions, but at some point, we become exhausted. And this frightens us, quite frankly. So, yes, we are prepared for everything except housing. We have no housing. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Fournier. Two studies were conducted. One was published recently. Doesn't really deal with planning, but it does give a good idea because it allows us to see what is the trajectory of the new people. And there's another study actually that will be published next spring, and it has to do with the prairies in the western and northern part, Manitoba, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Nunavut, I believe, as well. So this data will be very interesting, but what you're raising as an issue is very relevant. I believe that on a Canadian level, this is what we're reproaching immigration and the way that it is managed right now. That is to say, if we have general immigration programs where they say, okay, in such and such a program, we'll try to get a maximum amount of Francophones, or we'll add a Francophone part, or the documents will be translated. It's not very strategic at all, and it's not targeted. So this is something that should be done, really. And so I support you. Thank you. Mr. Bara Ruzanza, do you have any comments on this? Yes. Yes. I will say that the studies available in Saskatchewan, and one was done last year, but the one last year was a regional study for the prairies. This year, there is a study underway, but I have to tell you that most of the studies that I see published as of 2018 had to do with the recruitment and settlement of Francophone immigrants. But as for planning, including planning for housing, I think that this is an issue that has to be integrated in studies that have to be done jointly, not just a study by IRCC. So the issue of housing certainly has to be dealt with by other departments as well. So your concern is founded. We do need planning. And as Brigitte was saying, planning is not just the responsibility of IRCC. This needs to be supported by other departments and the federal government and provinces. Thank you. Mrs. Duguay-Langlais. Yes, exactly what Ferdinand said. There is a responsibility on the behalf of other departments as well. Yes,